The brain in a vat. Imagine yourself standing on a quiet street at dusk. The air is still. A faint breeze stirs the leaves above you. You've just witnessed something. Someone screamed, and in the chaos that followed, you saw a figure dart away. A red hoodie. Tall. Running north. You're certain. Your memory feels sharp, clear, like a photograph etched into your mind. When the police arrive, you speak with calm confidence. You were right there. You saw it happen. And so, your words become part of the official record. Now, imagine this. Moments later, someone hands you a small, unassuming device. It doesn't look like anything special, smooth, black, silent. But they tell you what it can do. It can replay the event. Not a recording. Not security footage. This is different. It's a perfect, neutral playback of what actually happened, seen from above, from the side, even from the eyes of the people involved. No bias. No distortion. Just truth. You activate it. And you watch. The scene unfolds. And slowly, your certainty begins to unravel. The person wasn't tall. The hoodie wasn't red, it was dark orange. They didn't run north. They turned sharply into a narrow alley just out of your line of sight. Every detail you were so sure of is wrong. You feel a chill. Not because you lied, because you didn't. You believed every word you said. But now you see how easily your mind filled in the gaps, how quickly it stitched together a story from fragments, how confidently it presented fiction as fact. And the deeper truth settles in. Your memory, your perception, your very sense of reality, is not a mirror of the world, but a construction. A simulation running inside your skull. This is not just about one mistaken eyewitness account. This is about you. Right now. Reading these words. How much of what you believe to be true is actually true? How many of your memories have been quietly rewritten over time? How many of your convictions are built on assumptions you've never questioned? Take a deep breath. Let that thought settle. Now, the device gives you a choice. You can correct your statement. You can go back and tell the police the truth, the version you now know to be real. But doing so comes at a cost. Your credibility will suffer. People will wonder, if you are so wrong about this, what else might you be wrong about? You might be seen as indecisive, confused, or worse, dishonest. After all, you were so sure before. What changed? Or, you can stay silent. Keep your original testimony. Let the record stand. Knowing it's wrong. Knowing that justice may be shaped by a lie you didn't intend to tell, but one you're now choosing to uphold. What do? And then, you realize, this isn't just a thought experiment about memory or justice. It's a mirror. It's asking, how comfortable are you with being wrong? Not in small ways, but in fundamental ones. How attached are you to the stories you tell about yourself? To the image of being someone who knows? Who sees clearly? We like to believe our minds are reliable. That what we see, hear, and remember is real. But neuroscience tells a different story. Your brain doesn't record experience like a camera. It reconstructs it. Every time you recall a memory, it's not a playback, it's a recreation. And each time, it changes. Details shift. Emotions color the scene. Gaps are filled with guesses. Over time, the memory becomes less about what happened, and more about what your mind believes should have happened. Even your senses are not passive receivers. They're active interpreters. Your brain filters out most of what's around you, focusing only on what it deems important. It fills in blind spots in your vision, smooths over inconsistencies, and even alters your perception based on expectations. If you expect to see a face in the shadows, you will, whether it's there or not. This isn't a flaw. It's a feature. Your brain is designed for survival, not accuracy. It prioritizes speed and coherence over truth. So when you say, "I saw it with my own eyes," what you're really saying is, "My brain constructed a story that felt true." And that story may be useful, but it may not be real. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Think of a memory from your childhood. A birthday. A family trip. A moment of fear or joy. Now ask yourself, is that memory exactly as it happened? Or has it been shaped by retellings, photos, the emotions of others? How much of it is yours, and how much has been borrowed, edited, or imagined? Let that question linger. Now, imagine a world where everyone has access to this device, the one that shows the neutral truth. A world where no one can hide behind "I thought I saw," or "I remember it differently." Where every argument, every trial, every relationship is subject to playback. Would we become more honest? Or would we become paralyzed by doubt? Would we trust each other more, or stop trusting ourselves? Because the deeper fear isn't being wrong. It's realizing that the self who is wrong, the I who remembers, who decides, who believes, is not a stable entity at all. It's a process. A narrative. A story the brain tells to make sense of a chaotic world. And if the story can change, then who are you? Take a slow breath in, and let it out. This thought experiment doesn't end with a solution. It ends with a quiet unraveling. A soft collapse of certainty. And in that space, between what you thought you knew and what might be true, there is an invitation. Not to panic. Not to search for absolute truth. But to rest in the not knowing. To accept that your mind is not a fortress of facts, but a river, always flowing, always changing. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be right. You only need to be here. Present. Curious. Willing to see, not just with your eyes, but with a kind of gentle attention that doesn't demand answers. As you prepare to move forward, let go of the need to be certain. Let go of the weight of being the one who knows. For just this moment, it's enough to wonder. To doubt. To be human. And as the night deepens, and your thoughts begin to drift, remember this: the most honest thing you can say is not "I know," but "I don't know." And in that admission, there is peace. There is freedom. There is the quiet beginning of wisdom. Let your breath slow. Let your body sink deeper into stillness. The questions don't need to be solved. They only need to be held, lightly, gently, like a leaf resting on the surface of a calm pond. The mind is not a machine to be fixed. It is a sky, vast, open, filled with clouds that come and go. You are not the thoughts. You are not the memories. You are the space in which they appear. And right now, that is enough. Simulation argument. Close your eyes for a moment and let your thoughts drift beyond the room you're in, beyond the city, beyond the planet. Picture the vast arc of time, centuries unfolding, civilizations rising and falling, technology growing ever more sophisticated. Now, consider this: at some point in the future, perhaps hundreds or thousands of years from now, a civilization might reach a level of computational power so advanced that it can simulate entire worlds, complete with conscious beings, intricate histories, and lifelike experiences. Not video games. Not crude models. But full, immersive realities, down to the flicker of emotion in a stranger's eyes or the warmth of sunlight on skin. These simulations could be used to study the past, explore alternate histories, or simply exist as digital universes inhabited by minds indistinguishable from our own. Here's the unsettling part: if such simulations are possible, and if even a small fraction of advanced civilizations choose to run them, then the number of simulated minds could vastly outnumber the original, biological ones. And if that's true, then statistically, you are more likely to be one of the simulated minds than one of the originals. This is the core of the simulation argument, proposed by philosopher Nick Bostrom. It doesn't claim that we are in a simulation. Instead, it presents a trilemma, three possibilities, at least one of which must be true. Almost all civilizations go extinct before reaching the technological level to run realistic ancestor simulations. Almost no advanced civilizations are interested in running such simulations. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. If the first two don't hold, if civilizations do survive and do choose to simulate, then the third becomes nearly inevitable. And the deeper you go, the harder it is to rule them out. Let's slow down. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breath, the faint hum of the world around you. Everything feels real. Solid. Undeniable. But so would a perfect simulation. In fact, it has to. For a simulated mind to believe in its world, the world must feel just as real as this one. The coffee you drank this morning, the conversation with a friend, the ache in your shoulder from sleeping wrong, none of these sensations need to be real in the physical sense to be fully convincing. They only need to be consistent, coherent, and emotionally resonant. Now, consider the implications. If you're in a simulation, does it change the way you live? Does it make your love less real? Your pain less painful? Your joy less joyful? Most would say no. The experience is the same. The relationships you've built, the art you've made, the moments of quiet peace, they still matter to you. The simulated world isn't empty just because it's made of code. Meaning isn't erased by the substrate. But there's another layer. What if the simulation has a purpose? Are we being observed? Studied? Are we part of an experiment on free will, morality, or societal collapse? Or is this simulation a memorial, a recreation of a long-dead civilization, preserved like a digital fossil? Maybe we're entertainment. A story being watched by beings so far beyond us that we can't even conceive of their reality. Pause for a moment. Let that idea settle. You don't feel like a character in someone else's story, do you? You feel like the main character of your own life. Every decision, every thought, every memory, it all flows from you. But even that sense of self, that feeling of agency, could be perfectly programmed. A simulation doesn't need to be obvious. It doesn't need glitches or floating text. It only needs to be consistent enough to sustain belief. And isn't that what reality does? It's consistent. The sun rises. Gravity holds. Time moves forward. These patterns are so reliable we don't question them. But consistency isn't proof of authenticity. A well-designed simulation would follow rules too. It would have laws of physics, cause and effect, even entropy. The only difference might be the source. Now, ask yourself, is there any test you could perform to prove you're not in a simulation? Some have suggested looking for computational shortcuts, moments where the system renders only what's observed, like in a video game. But if the simulation is flawless, even that would be hidden. You could be designed to believe you've tested it, and failed. Take another breath. Let the uncertainty soften around the edges. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to free you. To loosen your grip on the idea that reality must be one specific thing. Whether you're made of atoms or code, your experience is no less valid. The beauty of a sunset, the comfort of a friend's voice, the ache of loss, these aren't diminished by their origin. What matters is how you live within the moment, not what the moment is made of. And perhaps, just perhaps, the simulation argument isn't about technology at all. Maybe it's a modern retelling of ancient questions. What is real? Who am I? Why am I here? Thousands of years ago, philosophers sat by fires and wondered if the world was an illusion. Today, we ask the same thing, but with computers instead of dreams. As you continue to breathe, let go of the need to know for sure. You don't have to solve this. You don't have to escape the simulation or prove it exists. You only have to be here. Present. Curious. Open. The mind doesn't need answers to be at peace. It only needs space to wonder. And in that space, something quiet and deep begins to emerge, not fear, but awe. The awe of being conscious at all. Of being able to ask these questions. Of floating, for a brief moment, in a universe, real or simulated, that is vast, mysterious, and filled with meaning you get to create. Let your thoughts slow. Let your body relax. The question of the simulation doesn't have to keep you awake. It can be the very thing that lulls you into stillness. Because whether this world is built from matter or information, one thing remains true. You are here. You are aware. And right now, that's enough. Last Thursdayism. There's a quiet moment, just before sleep takes you, when the edges of reality begin to blur. The room doesn't vanish, but it softens. The weight of the day loosens its grip. In that space, you might find yourself wondering, how do I know this is real? Not in a frantic way, not with panic, but with a slow, drifting curiosity. Not the kind that demands an answer, but the kind that lets the question hang in the air like mist. Now, consider this. What if the entire universe, every star, every mountain, every memory you hold dear, was created last Thursday? Not billions of years ago. Not with a bang, but with a blink. A complete, fully formed world, dropped into existence just a few days ago, with all of its history already written in. Fossils in the ground. Scars on your skin. The taste of breakfast this morning. The email from your friend last month. The childhood memory of learning to ride a bike. All of it, perfectly detailed, perfectly consistent, but none of it ever actually happened. This is Last Thursdayism, a playful, almost absurd thought experiment that cuts straight to the heart of what we can truly know. It's not meant to be believed, not literally. It's meant to unsettle. To remind you that the past, as you know it, isn't something you can touch or verify. It exists only in traces, memories, records, stories. And all of those can be fabricated. Take a deep breath. Let that sink in. You might say, but I remember yesterday. I was at work. I had that meeting. I felt tired. Yes. And those memories feel real. But so would implanted ones. If the universe began last Thursday, then your mind began with it, complete with a lifetime of false memories, seamlessly stitched together. You wouldn't feel any different. You wouldn't notice a gap. There would be no missing files, no corrupted data. Everything would align perfectly, your calendar, your photos, the news headlines, even the wear on your shoes. There's no test you could run to prove it didn't happen. Science relies on consistency over time, but if time itself was fabricated, then even science becomes part of the illusion. Radiometric dating would still say the rocks are millions of years old. Your birth certificate would still be valid. The stars would still appear to be light years away, their light already en route. And yet, none of it would be true. Pause for a moment. Let the silence settle around you. Now, ask yourself, does it matter? If the universe began last Thursday, or 10 billion years ago, does your life feel any different? Does your love for someone diminish if your memories of them were never real? Does your pain become less painful if it only started a few days ago? The answer, for most, is no. The experience is what matters, not its origin. This is where Last Thursdayism stops being a joke and starts being something deeper. It's not really about the creation of the universe. It's about certainty. About how little we actually know, and how much we accept on faith, faith in our senses, faith in our memories, faith in the continuity of time. We like to believe the past is solid, fixed, unchangeable. But neuroscience tells us otherwise. Every time you recall a memory, your brain rebuilds it. It fills in gaps, smooths out inconsistencies, and subtly reshapes the story based on your current emotions. Over time, the memory becomes less about what happened and more about what your mind wants to believe happened. So even if the universe did have a long history, your personal past is already a kind of fiction, a narrative you've told yourself so many times it feels true. And what about history itself? Think of all the civilizations that have risen and fallen, their stories lost to fire, war, or neglect. Think of how often conquerors rewrite the past to glorify themselves. How many facts we accept today will be overturned by a single archaeological discovery? How much of what we believe is just the best guess based on incomplete evidence? Now, imagine a future civilization, thousands of years from now, unearthing the ruins of our world. They find a smartphone, a movie, a social media archive. What will they believe? Will they think our superhero films were documentaries? That we worshipped fictional characters? That our video games were religious rituals? They might reconstruct a version of our lives that feels real to them, but is utterly wrong. And so are we. We are all archaeologists of our own past, piecing together a story from fragments, hoping it makes sense. Take another slow breath. Let your thoughts drift. Last Thursdayism doesn't ask you to believe the world is 6 days old. It asks you to consider how little proof you have for anything beyond this moment. The past is gone. You can't go back and check it. You can only trust the traces it left behind. And if those traces can be perfectly simulated, then the question of when the universe began becomes irrelevant. What remains? This. The feeling of your breath. The weight of your body. The quiet hum of the world around you. These are not memories. They are not records. They are now. And perhaps that's all that matters. You don't need to know whether the past was real to feel joy. You don't need to prove your memories are accurate to love someone. You don't need certainty to be kind, to create, to rest. In fact, certainty can be a burden. It makes us rigid, defensive, convinced we know the truth, when all we really have is a story. So let go of the need to know. Let go of the idea that reality must be one specific way. Instead, rest in the mystery. The universe could have begun at the Big Bang. Or last Thursday. Or it could be a dream, a simulation, a fleeting thought in the mind of something vast and incomprehensible. None of those possibilities change the warmth of your blanket, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet courage it takes to face another day. As you prepare to drift deeper, remember this: you don't have to solve existence. You don't have to prove anything. You only have to be here. Present. Soft. Open. The past may be an illusion. The future, uncertain. But this moment, this breath, is real enough. And right now, that's more than enough. Swampman. There's a quiet swamp, deep in a forgotten part of the world. It's still. The air hangs thick with moisture. Mosquitoes hum in the dusk. Nothing stirs, until a sudden bolt of lightning splits the sky and strikes a dead tree with a sharp crack. At the exact same moment, on the other side of the swamp, another lightning bolt hits the ground, vaporizing a lone hiker who had wandered too far off the path. And then, something extraordinary happens. From the chaos of that second strike, the atoms in the air, water, and soil are rearranged, by pure, random chance, into the exact same configuration as the man who just died. Every neuron, every memory, every scar, every strand of DNA. A perfect copy. He opens his eyes. He doesn't feel any different. He believes he's the same person who walked into the swamp just moments ago. He remembers breakfast. He remembers his name. He remembers loving someone deeply years ago. He even remembers the sound of the thunder before everything went black. But here's the truth, this man, this swamp man, has never lived a single moment of the life he remembers. He wasn't born. He didn't grow up. He didn't fall in love or suffer loss. His entire past is an illusion, written into his brain by the accident of physics. He's not a continuation of the hiker. He's a new being, identical in every way, but without a history. Now, ask yourself, is he you? Not in appearance. Not in behavior. But in essence. In identity. If you were to die in that swamp and be replaced by this exact replica, same thoughts, same memories, same voice, would the world have lost you? Or would it be as if nothing had changed? Take a slow breath. Let that question sink in. This is the Swampman thought experiment, proposed by philosopher Donald Davidson. It doesn't rely on futuristic technology or quantum physics. It uses only chance, and yet, it cuts straight to the heart of who we are. Are we our bodies? Our memories? Our consciousness? Or are we something more, something that can't be copied, even if every atom is in place? You might say, of course it's not me. I'm gone. The copy is just a shadow. But then consider this, everyone who knew the hiker, his family, his friends, his partner, would interact with Swampman and see no difference. He'd say the same things. He'd laugh at the same jokes. He'd cry at the same memories. To them, he is the same person. And from his own perspective, he feels no break, no gap in continuity. He wakes up, shakes off the confusion, and keeps walking, believing, completely, that he's the same man who entered the swamp. So who's right? The outside world, which sees continuity? Or the philosophical truth, that a new being has begun? Pause for a moment. Let your thoughts drift. Now, imagine a more personal version. Suppose you were the one who died. And suppose, right now, you are not the original. Suppose you are the copy, created not by lightning, but by some subtle, imperceptible shift in the fabric of reality. You have all the memories, all the feelings. But somewhere, in a moment you can't recall, the thread of your true self was broken. Another you took over, identical, but not continuous. Would you even know? This isn't just about duplication. It's about the nature of the self. We tend to think of ourselves as a single, unbroken stream of consciousness, a me that stretches from childhood to now. But neuroscience suggests that the self is more like a story the brain tells itself. It's coherent. It's convincing. But it's not as stable as we believe. Every night, when you sleep, your consciousness dissolves. When you wake up, you assume you're the same person. But is there proof? Or is each morning a kind of rebirth, a new mind that simply inherits the memories of the last? And if that's true, then aren't we all, in a way, swamp men? Take another breath. Let the ideas soften around the edges. Now, consider the emotional weight. Suppose the hiker had a partner waiting for him at home. When Swampman returns, he hugs her the same way. He says, "I missed you." He means it. The memory of her love is real to him. But she isn't his past. He never lived it. So when he says "I love you," is it genuine? Or is it just a perfect imitation? And if you were the partner, would it matter? If the person in front of you feels the same, acts the same, loves the same, does the origin of that love change its value? This is where the thought experiment becomes deeply human. It's not just about philosophy. It's about connection. About whether love requires history. whether forgiveness needs time, whether a second chance is possible, even if the person taking it wasn't there for the mistakes. Maybe identity isn't a single point. Maybe it's a pattern, a rhythm, a repetition of thoughts, choices, and feelings. And if that pattern continues, whether in the same body or a new one, then perhaps the self survives, not as a substance, but as a structure. Or maybe not. Maybe there's something irreplaceable about the original, the first breath, the first pain, the first joy. Something that can't be duplicated, even if every detail is copied. Let go of the need to decide. This isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a mirror to gaze into. A quiet invitation to wonder, what am I, really? Am I the memories? The body? The voice that speaks these words? Or am I the space in which all of it appears? As you rest here, in the stillness, let the boundaries blur. Let the questions linger without answers. You don't have to be certain. You don't have to be continuous. You only have to be present. And in this moment, whether you're the original or the copy, the hiker or the Swampman, you are here. You are aware. You are feeling. And that, perhaps, is the only continuity we truly need. Let your breath slow. Let your body relax. The self may be an illusion, but the experience is real. And right now, that's enough. Burke's teleportation paradox. You step into a chamber. The air hums softly. The walls are smooth, white, almost glowing. A voice, calm, neutral, tells you the process will take only a few seconds. You'll feel a brief flash of light, it says. And then you'll be on the other side. This is the teleportation machine, the pinnacle of human innovation. No rockets, no long journeys through space. Just instant travel, disassemble here, reassemble there. Across the city. Across the planet. Even to another world. You've heard the arguments. It's perfectly safe. Millions have done it. Your friend took it last month and said it felt like blinking. One moment she was in London, the next, Sydney. No pain. No gap. Just arrival. So you press the button. There's a bright flash. A sensation like falling, but not quite. And then, silence. You open your eyes. The environment is different. The air smells faintly of pine. A soft breeze brushes your skin. You're on the other side. You check your body. Everything's in place. Your hands, your face, the scar on your knee from childhood. You remember stepping in. You remember the light. And now, here you are. But then, a quiet question forms in the back of your mind. Did you survive? Not in the physical sense. You're clearly here. Breathing. Thinking. Feeling. But deeper than that, was you, the continuous stream of awareness, the unbroken thread of self, that stepped into the machine. Was it the same one that stepped out? This is Burke's teleportation paradox, a modern twist on an ancient question. What makes you, you? The machine didn't move your body. It scanned it, every atom, every neural connection, and sent that information to a distant receiver, which then built a perfect copy. Meanwhile, the original you was disintegrated. Gone. Reduced to energy. So what arrived on the other side? Was it a continuation of your consciousness? Or was it a new being, identical in every way, but starting its existence the moment the machine powered on? Take a slow breath. Let that uncertainty settle. Imagine you had refused to go. Not because of the technology, but because of the idea. What if, instead of being destroyed, the machine didn't disintegrate the original? What if it created a copy while you remained intact? Two of you. Standing in two different places. both remembering stepping into the chamber, both believing they are the real one. Which one would you be? The one who stayed? The one who traveled? Or is you not a thing at all, but a process, a pattern that can be repeated, like a song played on different instruments? Now, consider how you wake up every morning. You've been unconscious for hours. Your thoughts dissolved into sleep. When you open your eyes, you assume you're the same person who went to bed. But is there proof? Or is each morning a kind of teleportation, a reassembly of the self from memory, habit, and biology? And if that's true, then maybe death isn't the end. Maybe it's just a longer gap between blinks. Pause for a moment. Let your thoughts drift. The deeper discomfort isn't about technology. It's about identity. We like to believe there's a core to us, an I that persists through time. But neuroscience suggests otherwise. The cells in your body replace themselves over time. Your brain rewires itself with every experience. The person you were at 5 years old is gone, molecule by molecule. And yet, you feel continuous. Why? Because the story remains. The narrative. The memory of being you. And that's exactly what the teleporter preserves. It doesn't just copy your body. It copies your mind, your fears, your loves, your regrets. The new you doesn't feel like a copy. It feels like you, because it has all the same reasons to believe it is. So if the copy lives on, feels joy, mourns loss, dreams of the future, does it matter that the original was destroyed? To the world, no. To your family, your friends, your lover, they wouldn't notice a difference. They'd hug you, talk to you, share meals. The copy would respond with the same warmth, the same memories. From the outside, nothing changed. But from the inside? From the perspective of the original consciousness, the one that stepped into the machine and was vaporized, there was an end. A final moment. A last thought. And then, nothing. Would you press the button if you knew that? Take another breath. Let the silence deepen. Some philosophers argue that continuity of consciousness is the only thing that matters. If there's a break, if the stream stops, then you are, in essence, dead. The copy may carry your name, but it's not you. It's someone else who happens to think they're you. Others say that identity isn't about continuity, but about pattern. If the structure of your mind is preserved, then you survive, even if the substrate changes. After all, you're not the same atoms you were 10 years ago. You're already a copy of a copy of a copy. And if that's true, then teleportation isn't suicide. It's travel. But here's the quiet truth this experiment reveals. We don't know what consciousness is. We don't know why we're aware. We don't know what it means for you to persist through time. All we have are assumptions, stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the mystery. So when you imagine stepping into that machine, you're not just confronting a future technology. You're confronting the fragility of the self. The possibility that you are not a thing, but a fleeting pattern, beautiful, temporary, and ultimately replaceable. Let go of the need to know which one is real. This isn't about choosing sides. It's about sitting in the uncertainty. About accepting that the self might be an illusion, a story the brain tells to make life feel coherent. And in that space, something shifts. You stop clinging to the idea of a permanent I. You begin to see yourself as a process, like a river, always changing, always flowing. The water is never the same, but the river remains. As you prepare to drift deeper, remember this: whether you're the original or the copy, the one who stepped in or the one who stepped out, you are here now. You are aware. You are feeling. And that, in this moment, is all that matters. Let your breath slow. Let your body relax. The question of survival can wait. Because right now, You are alive. You are present. And that's enough. Mary's room. There's a scientist named Mary. She has spent her entire life studying color, more than anyone else in history. Not just the physics of light, or the biology of the eye, but every dimension of human perception. She knows the exact wavelength of crimson at 650 nanometers. She can map the neural pathways that fire when someone sees a sunset. She understands how the retina converts photons into electrical signals, and how the brain interprets those signals as red, blue, or gold. She has read every paper, written every equation, mastered every model. There is nothing about color, nothing scientific, that she does not know. But there's one thing you should know about Mary: she has never seen color. She grew up in a world entirely in black and white. Her room, her clothes, her books, all shades of gray. A rare condition, or a strange experiment, or perhaps a choice made long ago. It doesn't matter why. What matters is this: for all her knowledge, Mary has never experienced what it's like to see red. Now, imagine the day comes when she steps out of her monochrome world. She walks outside. The sky is blue. Grass is green. A child runs by holding a bright red balloon. And in that moment, Mary sees color for the first time. What happens? She stops. Breath catches. Eyes widen. A tear rolls down her cheek. Not because of the science, but because of the feeling. The experience. The sheer, overwhelming what-it's-likeness of seeing red. And here's the question: did she learn something new? She already knew everything about color. Every fact. Every mechanism. Every measurable detail. But now, for the first time, she knows what it feels like to see it. This is what philosophers call qualia, the subjective, first-person experience of consciousness. The warmth of sunlight on skin. The bitterness of lemon. The ache of loneliness. These aren't facts you can write down. They're lived. Felt. Known from the inside. So if Mary learns something new when she sees red, something that no amount of scientific study could have taught her, then knowledge isn't just made of facts. There's another kind of knowing. One that exists beyond data, beyond equations, beyond the reach of any laboratory. Take a slow breath. Let that idea settle. We live in a world that values information. We measure intelligence by how much we can explain, predict, and control. But Mary's room reminds us that there are truths we cannot capture with words or numbers. The taste of chocolate. The sound of a loved one's laugh. The way grief sits in your chest like a stone. These experiences are real. They shape who we are. And yet, they vanish when we try to describe them. You can tell someone about pain, but you cannot give them the sensation. You can explain love, but you cannot transfer the feeling. This is the hard problem of consciousness. How does the physical activity in the brain, the firing of neurons, the release of chemicals, give rise to the inner world of experience? Why isn't it all just silent machinery, going through the motions? Why is there something it feels like to be you, right now, reading these words? Pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Think of your favorite song. Not the melody, not the lyrics, but the way it makes you feel. The memories it pulls up. The warmth in your chest. That feeling isn't in the music. It's in you. And no brain scan, no matter how detailed, could ever show someone else what it's like to hear that song the way you do. Now, imagine a future where scientists have mapped every connection in the human brain. They can simulate a mind in a computer. They can predict your choices, mimic your voice, replicate your memories. To the outside world, this digital version of you is indistinguishable from the real thing. It says, "I'm conscious. I feel. I remember." But here's the quiet doubt: does it actually experience anything? Or is it just a perfect imitation, like a chatbot that says I'm happy without ever feeling joy? If Mary, with all her knowledge, still needed to see red to understand it, then maybe consciousness can't be built from facts alone. Maybe experience is fundamental. Not an output of the brain, but something irreducible, like time, or space, or gravity. And if that's true, then we are surrounded by mysteries we can't measure. Take another breath. Let the silence deepen. Think about your own life. How many moments have you lived that no one else could truly understand? The way your grandmother's kitchen smelled on holidays. The exact shade of light through the trees on a summer morning. The quiet comfort of silence shared with someone you love. These aren't just memories. They're inner worlds. Entire universes of feeling that exist only within you. And yet, we spend so much of our lives translating experience into language, trying to explain, to prove, to be understood. But words are poor vessels. They carry only fragments. The rest is lost in translation. Mary's room isn't just about color. It's about the limits of knowledge. It's about the difference between knowing about life and living it. You can study love your whole life, read every poem, every psychology paper, and still be unprepared for the moment it happens to you. You can prepare for grief, brace for loss, and still be shattered when it arrives. Because some truths aren't learned. They're felt. And in that feeling, raw, unfiltered, wordless, is where we touch the essence of being alive. Let go of the need to explain it. Let go of the need to understand. As you rest here, in the quiet, allow yourself to simply be with your experience. Not analyze it. Not judge it. Just feel it, the breath in your lungs, the weight of your body, the soft hum of the world around you. These aren't data points. They're qualia. They're the fabric of consciousness. And they don't need to be proven. They only need to be witnessed. You don't have to know everything to be here. You don't have to explain anything to be real. You are experiencing. And that, in itself, is a miracle. Let your breath slow. Let your mind soften. The answers don't matter as much as the awareness. And right now, that's enough. Wigner's friend. There's a room. Inside, a single photon, just a tiny particle of light, is prepared in a delicate state. It's not simply here or there. It exists in a superposition, both passing through a beam splitter and reflecting off it, simultaneously. This is the strange reality of quantum mechanics. But the moment someone observes it, measures it, the superposition collapses. The photon chooses a path. It becomes definite. Real. Now, imagine your friend is in that room. She performs the measurement. She sees the result. To her, the photon has collapsed. The outcome is certain. She writes it down. She remembers it. For her, the event is over. You stand outside the room. You haven't seen the result. You don't know what she observed. According to quantum mechanics, from your perspective, the entire room, including your friend, her notebook, even her thoughts, is still in superposition. Not because she didn't see it, but because you didn't. In this view, the wave function hasn't collapsed for you. The system remains in a blur of possibilities, a world where she saw left, and another where she saw right, both existing at once, until you open the door and look. This is Wigner's friend, a thought experiment proposed by physicist Eugene Wigner in the 1960s. It doesn't involve spaceships or time travel. It's quiet, simple in setup. But it cuts to the heart of one of the deepest questions in science. What is observation? And more unsettling, whose observation counts? Take a slow breath. Let that uncertainty settle into your bones. We like to think of reality as fixed, objective. the same for everyone. But quantum mechanics suggests otherwise. At the smallest scales, the universe behaves like a haze of probabilities until a measurement is made. Then, and only then, does it become concrete. But who qualifies as an observer? Is it a camera? A cat? A conscious human being? Wigner believed consciousness played a special role. That it was the act of awareness, not just detection, that collapsed the wave function. So when your friend sees the photon, her consciousness collapses it for her. But until you become aware of a result, your description of reality still includes both outcomes. Two truths. One world. Now, ask yourself, which one is real? Is it the reality your friend experiences, the one where the photon took a definite path? Or is it your reality, the one where she exists in a ghostly state of having seen both? Pause for a moment. Let the silence deepen. This isn't just a physics puzzle. It's a mirror. It asks, how much of reality depends on who's looking? Think about your own life. When you dream, the world feels real. You see faces. You feel emotions. You believe the story unfolding is true. But when you wake, you say, it wasn't real. Yet, while you were in it, it was. Your consciousness made it real. Now imagine someone watching you sleep. To them, you're still. Quiet. Breathing. They don't see the dream. They don't feel the fear or joy. For them, the dream doesn't exist. But for you, it was as vivid as this moment. Whose reality is correct? Now scale it up. Every day, you make choices. You speak to someone. You walk a certain path. You feel a certain way. But the person across from you? They see a different version of you. Not a lie, but a perspective. They notice different things. They remember different words. They interpret your silence as coldness, while you meant it as thoughtfulness. Two experiences. One interaction. And if quantum mechanics applies even a little to the macro world, if observation shapes reality, then perhaps there isn't one shared truth at all. Perhaps each of us lives in a slightly different universe, shaped by what we notice, what we believe, what we see. Take another breath. Let the idea drift. Now, return to the room. You open the door. Your friend smiles. It went left, she says. And just like that, your superposition collapses. The blurred possibilities snap into one timeline. One story. But here's the quiet question. What happened to the other version? The one where she said right? Did it vanish? Or does it still exist, somewhere, unobserved, unrealized? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, like the many worlds theory, say both outcomes continue. The universe split. One version of you heard left. Another, in a parallel branch, heard right. But in Wigner's original view, consciousness creates the single reality. And that raises a haunting possibility. If consciousness is required to make things real, then without it, nothing is settled. So when you're alone, sitting in silence, no one watching, does the world soften? Do the edges blur? When you close your eyes, does your own existence become a question? And what about sleep? When you drift off and awareness fades, are you still real? Or do you, too, become a superposition of dreams, of breaths, of potential selves, until someone, or something, observes you again? Let go of the need to resolve this. This isn't about proving who's right. It's about feeling the fragility of certainty. The way reality seems solid, until you look closely, and it begins to shimmer. You don't need to be a physicist to live inside this paradox. You only need to be human. To have doubted a memory. To have been misunderstood. To have woken from a dream and felt, just for a second, that it was more real than the room around you. Consciousness is not a spotlight. It's a lens. And every lens distorts. So when you say, "This is real," what you're really saying is, "This is real to me." And that's okay. You don't have to agree on the truth. You only have to be present with your experience. As you rest here, in the quiet between thoughts, let the boundaries dissolve. Between observer and observed. Between you and the world. Between what is and what might be. There is no final measurement. No ultimate observer to collapse the wave function of your life. You are both the scientist and the experiment. The watcher and the watched. And in this moment, unobserved, unjudged, free from the need to be certain, you are allowed to simply be. Not fixed. Not final. Just here. Breathing. Aware. And that, perhaps, is the only reality that truly matters. Let your breath slow. Let your mind soften. The questions don't need answers tonight. They only need space. And right now, that's enough. Boltzmann Brains. Somewhere, in the infinite stretch of empty space, a single brain flickers into existence. Not born. Not evolved. Not assembled by hands or time. But formed, by pure, random chance, from the chaotic dance of particles in the void. It has no body. No past. No world. Just a moment of awareness. It opens its eyes, metaphorically, of course, and for a brief instant, it thinks. It wonders. It feels fear. It asks, "Where am I?" And then, just as suddenly, it dissolves back into nothingness. This is the Boltzmann brain, a thought experiment rooted in thermodynamics, cosmology, and the strange logic of probability. It begins with a simple idea. In an infinitely old or infinitely large universe, even the most unlikely events must happen eventually. Not once. Not twice. But infinitely many times. And if consciousness arises from a specific arrangement of matter, neurons, synapses, electrochemical patterns, then, given enough time and space, that arrangement could form randomly. Not through evolution, but through sheer luck, like a hurricane assembling a watch from a junkyard. So, statistically, a Boltzmann brain should be far more likely to exist than an entire universe full of galaxies, planets, and biological life. Why? Because it's simpler. The odds of a single conscious brain forming at random are astronomically low, but still higher than the odds of an entire cosmos, with its 13.8 billion years of finely tuned physics, stars, planets, and DNA, all aligning perfectly to produce you, reading these words. Now, here's the unsettling twist. If Boltzmann brains are more probable than real, evolved observers like us, then you should statistically be one. A momentary flicker of consciousness, hallucinating an entire universe, complete with memories of childhood, love, pain, and purpose, none of it real. Just noise. Static. But dream in the void. Take a slow breath. Let that possibility hover in the silence. You might laugh it off. That's absurd. I can feel my body. I have a history. I interact with others. But a Boltzmann brain would say the same thing. It would believe in its body. It would remember its past. It would even question its existence, just like you are now. The illusion would be perfect. And the more you try to prove you're real, the more you play into the fantasy. After all, even the thought, "I think, therefore I am," could be a scripted line and a fleeting hallucination. Pause for a moment. Let the room grow still. This isn't just a physics puzzle. It's a quiet erosion of certainty. A reminder that our confidence in reality rests on assumptions about time, about cause and effect, about the reliability of memory. We trust that the universe began with a Big Bang, that life evolved slowly, that our minds are the product of biology. But what if those are just stories your brain is telling itself to make sense of a random flash of awareness? And if that's true, then the cosmos you see, the stars, the laws of physics, the passage of time, might all be part of the hallucination. A dream so vast and consistent it feels real. Like a dream within a dream, where even the act of doubting is part of the script. Now, consider the alternative, that Boltzmann brains don't exist. That we are real, evolved beings in a real universe. For that to be true, the cosmos must not be infinite in time or space. It must have a beginning, a direction, a reason why order, like galaxies, planets, and life, can emerge from chaos. But modern cosmology isn't sure. Some models suggest the universe is eternal, cycling through expansions and contractions. Others propose a multiverse, where every possible reality exists. In those frameworks, Boltzmann brains aren't just possible, they're inevitable. And if they're inevitable, they should outnumber us. And if they outnumber us, we should be them. So why aren't we? Maybe we are. Maybe this moment, the breath, the thoughts, the sensation of reading, is the last flicker of a dying Boltzmann brain, dissolving into entropy. Or maybe the universe is structured in a way that prevents such random consciousness from arising, though no one knows how. Take another breath. Let the uncertainty soften. This thought experiment doesn't offer comfort. It doesn't resolve into peace. It leaves you suspended, between what is, what could be, and what can never be known. And in that suspension, something shifts. You stop reaching for solid ground. You begin to accept that some questions don't have answers. That the universe might not be made for us to understand. That consciousness, whether evolved or accidental, might be a rare, fleeting miracle, or a common, meaningless glitch. Either way, it's here. Now. And perhaps that's what matters, not the origin, but the experience. Not whether you're real, but that you're aware. That you can wonder. That you can feel the weight of the night, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet courage it takes to face the unknown. You don't need to prove you exist. You only need to notice that, for now, there is light in the darkness. There is thought in the void. There is a story being told, even if no one is truly writing it. As you drift deeper, let go of the need to be permanent. Let go of the need to be certain. You don't have to be the center of the cosmos. You don't have to be anything at all. Just let yourself be a moment of awareness in an endless sea of silence. And when the questions return, when the doubt rises again, remember this: even a dream can feel real. Even a flicker can carry meaning. And even in the vast, indifferent dark, a single thought is enough to change everything. Eternal return. You wake up. The morning light filters through the blinds. A familiar song plays from a passing car. You stretch, rise, and begin your day. Coffee, a message from a friend, the weight of small decisions. You've lived this before. Not in memory, but in exact detail. The same words. The same thoughts. The same ache in your shoulder. And as the hours unfold, a quiet certainty grows. You have lived this day before. Not once. Not twice. But an infinite number of times. This is eternal return, a thought experiment that asks, what if time is not a straight line, but a loop? Not a single cycle, but an endless repetition of every moment, every choice, every joy, and every sorrow. Nietzsche introduced this idea not as a scientific theory, but as a philosophical test. Would you collapse in despair at the thought of reliving your life forever? Or would you say yes, with joy, with passion, with love for every second of it? Take a slow breath. Let the idea settle, not as a prediction, but as a mirror. Imagine that every action you've ever taken, the words you spoke in anger, the silence when someone needed you, the moments of courage, the times you turned away, is not a fleeting mistake or triumph, but something eternal. It will happen again. And again. And again. There is no escape. No final redemption. No one-time chance to get it right. Everything you do echoes through infinity. Now, ask yourself, how would you live differently? Would you still spend hours lost in distraction, knowing that each minute is not just passing, but being carved into eternity? Would you speak the same way to the people you love, knowing they will hear those words an infinite number of times? Would you hesitate in the face of kindness, knowing that even the smallest act of compassion might be the one thing that keeps someone afloat, again and again? Pause for a moment. Let the weight of repetition press gently against your chest. This isn't about punishment. It's about presence. About the sacredness of the now. When we believe time is linear, we treat life like a draft, something we can revise later. I'll be kinder tomorrow. I'll call them next week. I'll start living fully, someday. But in the loop of eternal return, there is no someday. There is only this time. And it is infinite. So what would you change? Not in a grand, dramatic way. Not by becoming a hero or a saint. But in the quiet moments. The way you pour a glass of water. The tone of your voice when you're tired. The decision to listen instead of waiting to speak. If this moment will repeat forever, does it deserve your full attention? Your tenderness? Your truth? And what about the pain? The loss? The regret? The nights you cried in silence? The relationships that ended? The dreams that faded? In the loop, these don't disappear. They return, too. Over and over. You will feel that grief an infinite number of times. You will carry that guilt, that loneliness, that fear, forever. Would you still say yes? Nietzsche believed that to truly affirm life, you must say yes to all of it, not just the joy, but the suffering. Not just the victories, but the failures. Because without darkness, light has no meaning. Without loss, love has no depth. The loop doesn't erase pain, it makes it eternal. And yet, in that very eternity, there is a strange kind of freedom. You stop waiting for life to get better. You stop chasing a future where everything makes sense. You stop believing that happiness is something that happens after the struggle. Because in the loop, there is no after. There is only now, repeated without end. So you begin to meet each moment as if it matters infinitely. You savor the warmth of your hands around a mug. You notice the way sunlight hits the wall in the late afternoon. You laugh at the same joke, even though you've heard it 1,000 times before. You hold someone's hand, not because it leads to something, but because it feels true right now. Take another breath. Let the rhythm of your lungs sync with the imagined pulse of the cycle. Eternal return doesn't require you to believe in literal repetition. It only asks you to live as if it were true. To treat this moment, not as disposable, not as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. As something worth reliving. And in that shift, something profound happens. You stop measuring your life in achievements. In likes. In money. In how far you've come. You begin to measure it in how deeply you've lived. In how fully you've loved. In how often you've chosen kindness when it was easier to turn away. Now, consider the alternative, a life without repetition. A single, linear path from birth to death. One chance. One story. That, too, can feel overwhelming. But eternal return doesn't add pressure, it removes it. Because if everything repeats, then no single moment has to be perfect. You don't have to get it right this time. You just have to be here. Present. Willing. Even your mistakes are not failures. They are part of the pattern. The loop doesn't punish you for falling. It simply returns you to the same crossroads, again and again, until you walk through it with awareness. And one day, you might find yourself standing in the same place, facing the same choice, but responding differently, not because you're trying to fix the past, but because you've finally learned how to be here. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften. This thought experiment doesn't promise escape from suffering. It doesn't offer a happy ending. It offers something quieter, but deeper, meaning. Not found in the future, not buried in the past, but right here, in the way you breathe, in the way you listen, in the way you choose to meet this moment, as if it will echo forever. You don't need to believe in eternal recurrence to be changed by it. You only need to ask, if I had to live this life again, exactly as it is, would I welcome it? And if the answer is no, what small thing can you change today, so that tomorrow, the answer might be yes? As you drift towards sleep, let the loop turn gently in your mind. Not as a burden, but as a lullaby. A reminder that this life, this breath, this heart, this fleeting awareness is not just happening now. It is happening always. And that makes it holy. Twin Earth. Close your eyes and imagine a world almost identical to our own. The cities look the same. The people speak English, laugh at the same jokes, fall in love, and go to work. They drink what they call water, splash it on their faces in the morning, and offer it to guests on a hot day. They call it H2O. They believe it's made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, just like us. But there's one crucial difference. The liquid they call water isn't H2O at all. It's a different chemical compound entirely, let's call it XYZ. It looks, tastes, and behaves exactly like water. You could drink it, bathe in it, freeze it into ice, boil it into steam, and never notice a difference. But its molecular structure is not ours. This is Twin Earth, a thought experiment devised by philosopher Hilary Putnam to challenge a simple assumption we all make, that meaning lives only in our minds. You might think that when you say the word water, its meaning is determined by what's in your head, that mental image of a cool stream, the sensation of thirst, the memory of rain on your skin. But on Twin Earth, someone has all the same thoughts, memories, and sensations. They even use the word in the same way. Yet, when they say water, they're referring to XYZ. And when you say water, you're referring to H2O. So here's the question, are you both talking about the same thing? It seems obvious that you're not. Even though your thoughts are identical, the thing you're referring to is different. Meaning, then, isn't just in the mind. It's also out there, tied to the world, to history, to the actual substance that was there when the word was first used. You don't have to know the chemical structure of water to mean water, you just have to be part of a linguistic community that has historically been in contact with H2O. Your meaning is anchored in reality, even if you're not aware of the anchor. Take a slow breath. Let that idea ripple through your thoughts. Now, scale it up. If a single word like water can mean different things on 2 nearly identical worlds, what about other words? What about love? Truth? Home? Are you sure the meaning you carry in your mind is the same as the one in someone else's? You both might say, I love you, with tears in your eyes, hearts full. But are you referring to the same experience? The same commitment? The same future? We assume language connects us. That when we speak, we're sharing the same concepts. But Twin Earth suggests otherwise. Meaning isn't purely private. It's social and environmental. It depends on context, history, and the real-world things we're linked to, often without knowing it. Pause for a moment. Think of a conversation you had recently. A disagreement. A misunderstanding. Maybe you both used the same word, fair, successful, kind, but walked away feeling like you were talking about different things. Now imagine that on some deeper level, you were. That your version of fair was shaped by your upbringing, your struggles, your invisible wounds. And theirs was shaped by a different life, a different world. Not wrong. Not lying. Just referring to something slightly, fundamentally other. That's the quiet power of Twin Earth. It doesn't just apply to fictional planets. It applies to every conversation you've ever had. And what about you? When you say, I am, what are you referring to? Your body? Your memories? Your personality? But what if, like water, the word I doesn't point to a single, fixed thing inside your head? What if you are also defined by your history, your relationships, the physical and social world that shaped you? What if, on a twin Earth, there's another version of you, identical in every way, who isn't you, simply because they grew up under a different sky, touched different hands, lived a life that diverged by a single molecule? Take another breath. Let the boundaries blur. This isn't just about language. It's about connection. About how we assume we understand each other until we realize we might not. And yet, despite that, we still reach out. We still say the words. We still try to mean something to someone. Maybe that's the real miracle. Not that language is perfect, but that it works at all. That across invisible divides, we can still share moments of understanding. That even if our words are anchored in different realities, they can still meet in the space between us. Now, consider the internet. A global conversation where people use the same words, justice, freedom, truth, with wildly different meanings. We argue as if we're disagreeing on facts, when often, we're not even talking about the same concepts. One person's freedom is another's neglect. One person's truth is another's harm. And no amount of logic will bridge the gap if the meanings themselves are rooted in different worlds. Twin Earth doesn't offer a solution. It doesn't tell you how to fix miscommunication. Instead, it invites humility. The quiet recognition that what you mean, and what others mean, might not be as aligned as you think. That understanding requires more than words. It requires curiosity, patience, the willingness to ask, what do you really mean by that? Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the need to be right. As you rest here, in the stillness, let the idea linger. Meaning isn't just in your head. It's woven into the world around you, into the air, the water, the people who shaped your life. And when you speak, you're not just expressing a thought. You're pointing, sometimes blindly, towards something real. You don't have to know exactly what it is. You only have to be willing to look. And in that shared act of pointing, of reaching, of trying, there is connection. Not perfect. Not complete. But real. And sometimes, that's more than enough. The experience machine. You're lying in a quiet room. Soft light filters through the ceiling. Wires connect to your temples, your spine, your limbs, not to hurt, but to speak directly to your brain. A scientist stands nearby, calm, offering you a choice. Step into the machine, they say, and you'll experience a perfect life. Every dream you've ever had will come true. You'll be the person you always wanted to be. You'll love and be loved. You'll achieve greatness. You'll feel joy so deep it aches. And you won't know it's not real. To you, it will be everything. But here's the catch. Once you enter, you never leave. The real world, the one with bills, with loss, with uncertainty, will fade away. You'll forget this moment. You'll forget the machine. You'll forget you. All you'll know is the life you've always wanted. And outside, your body will lie here, motionless, fed by tubes, breathing with the help of machines. No one will visit. No one will remember you. To the world, you will have vanished. Would you press the button? This is the experience machine, a thought experiment crafted by philosopher Robert Nozick to challenge a simple idea. Is pleasure all that matters? If happiness is the goal of life, then why not plug into a system that guarantees it, perfectly, endlessly, without effort? Take a slow breath. Let the weight of the choice settle in your chest. At first, it seems obvious. Who wouldn't choose a life of constant joy? A world where every relationship is fulfilling, every ambition realized, every fear soothed? In the real world, we chase happiness like a distant star, through jobs, relationships, achievements, knowing it always slips away. But here, it's handed to you. No struggle. No risk. Just peace. And yet, something holds you back. It's not fear of missing out. It's not the wires or the sterile room. It's a quiet voice inside that whispers, this isn't real. You want to earn your joy. You want your love to be with someone who chose you, not a program designed to adore you. You want your victories to come after real effort, not be handed to you like gifts in a dream. You want to live, not just feel. Pause for a moment. Think of the last time you felt truly proud. Not because someone praised you, but because you knew, deep down, you had done something meaningful. Maybe it was getting through a hard day. Standing up for someone. Finishing a project that took months. That pride wasn't just a feeling. It was tied to truth. To effort. To reality. The machine can give you the feeling of pride, but not the reason behind it. It can make you believe you climbed a mountain, but your muscles will never ache. Your lungs will never burn. The wind will never sting your face. And when you stand at the summit, the triumph will be hollow, because nothing was ever at stake. Now, scale it up. Imagine a world where everyone chooses the machine. Cities empty. Families dissolve. Art, science, love, all replaced by perfect simulations. The real world continues, but no one is there to witness it. No one plants a tree they won't live to see grow. No one writes a letter to a future generation. No one suffers, but no one lives either. Is that a utopia? Or a quiet extinction? Take another breath. Let the silence deepen. This thought experiment isn't really about technology. It's about what we value. We like to say we want happiness, but when faced with a version of it that's effortless and eternal, we hesitate. Why? Because we care about more than how we feel. We care about who we are. About authenticity. About connection. About growth. We want our lives to mean something, not just to us, but in the fabric of reality. We want to believe that our choices matter, that our pain has purpose, that our love is real. And perhaps, we want to be awake. Not just conscious, but present. Aware of the world as it is, messy, unpredictable, often unfair. Because in that awareness, there's a kind of dignity. The dignity of facing life without illusion. Of choosing to stay, even when it would be easier to escape. Now, consider the opposite, a life without the machine, but filled with suffering. A life of loss, of failure, of quiet despair. Would you still say, at least it's real? Maybe not. The real world isn't automatically better just because it's real. Pain without meaning is still pain. And sometimes, the dream might be kinder. But here's the deeper truth. We don't have to choose between total escape and total suffering. Most of us live somewhere in between. We endure hardship, but we also find real joy. We build real relationships. We create things that last. We leave marks, small, quiet, but true. And that might be enough. The experience machine doesn't ask you to solve the meaning of life. It asks you to notice what you already value. Not just pleasure, but depth. Not just comfort, but truth. Not just feeling good, but being someone who faced the world, stayed in it, and said, this is mine. Let go of the need to have it all figured out. As you rest here, in the stillness, let the question linger, what kind of life do you want to live? Not the one that feels best, but the one that feels right. Maybe it's a life where you stumble, where you doubt, where you hurt, but also a life where you reach out, where you try, where you love, even when it's hard. That life, imperfect, fragile, fleeting, is yours. And in its imperfection, there is beauty. In its fragility, there is courage. In its fleetingness, there is urgency. You don't need eternity to matter. You only need this moment, real, unedited, yours. And that, perhaps, is the most precious thing of all. Sleeping Beauty Paradox. You're invited to take part in an experiment. Not a dangerous one. Not painful. Just strange. You'll be put to sleep on Sunday night. A fair coin will be flipped, completely random, 50-50 odds. If it lands heads, you'll be awakened only once, on Monday morning, and then the experiment ends. If it lands tails, you'll be awakened on Monday and again on Tuesday. But here's the twist. After each awakening, you'll be given a drug that erases your memory of that waking period. So if the coin comes up tails, you'll wake up on Monday, not know whether it's Monday or Tuesday, and then be put back to sleep with no memory of having been awake. The same thing will happen on Tuesday. And every time you wake up, the researchers will ask you one question. What is the probability that the coin landed heads? You know all of this in advance. The rules are clear. You're rational. You understand probability. But now, imagine the moment you open your eyes. The room looks neutral. No windows. No clock. You don't know what day it is. You don't know if this is your first awakening or your second. All you know is that you're in the experiment. So you ask yourself, did the coin land heads or tails? At first, it seems simple. It's a fair coin. So the odds should be 50-50, right? But wait. If the coin landed tails, you're twice as likely to be awakened. There are 2 wake-ups in that scenario, versus only 1 if it's heads. So if you were to bet on the outcome each time you wake up, you'd win more often by guessing tails. From your perspective, in the moment of awakening, you're more likely to be in a tails timeline. So is the probability of heads 1/2 or 1/3? This is the Sleeping Beauty Paradox, a puzzle that has divided philosophers, mathematicians, and physicists for decades. There are 2 main camps, the halfer position, which says the probability is still 1/2 because the coin was fair, and the third position, which argues that since you're twice as likely to experience an awakening in the tails world, the odds shift to 1/3 for heads and 2/3 for tails. Take a slow breath. Let the confusion settle like dust in still air. This isn't just about statistics. It's about self-locating belief. How do you assign probabilities when you don't know where or when you are in the timeline of your own life? Normally, probability is about external events. What are the odds it will rain? But here, it's about your experience. You're not just observing the coin flip. You're inside the outcome, unable to tell which branch of reality you're on. Now, scale it up. Imagine you wake up tomorrow with no memory of the past. No name. No history. You don't know if it's 2024 or 2124. You don't know if you're human, or a simulation, or a dream. All you know is that you exist, right now. And you ask, what are the odds that I am in the original reality, not a copy? Or, what are the odds that this is the first time I've lived this moment, rather than a repetition? The Sleeping Beauty Paradox forces you to confront the fragility of perspective. You can't assume you're a neutral observer. You are part of the system. Your awareness is not outside the experiment, it's one of its variables. Pause for a moment. Let the room grow quiet. Think about your own life. How many times have you made a decision based on incomplete information? You assume you're on the main path, the original version of your story. But what if you're not? What if you're one of many versions, scattered across time, memory, or possibility? What if this moment, the fatigue, the doubt, the quiet hope, has happened before? Not in memory, but in reality? And if so, does it matter? The paradox doesn't offer an answer. It offers a disorientation. The gentle unraveling of certainty. It shows that even something as basic as probability depends on who is asking and when. From the outside, the coin is 50/50. From the inside, the odds shift. And since you're always on the inside of your own experience, you can never fully trust the numbers. Take another breath. Let the uncertainty soften. Now, consider a deeper layer. Suppose the experiment is real. You wake up. You don't know the day. You're asked the question. You give your answer. But then, after the experiment ends, you're told the truth. If it was heads, you only woke once. If it was tails, twice. But you'll never know which awakening was real, which was repeated, which was erased. And yet, you live them. Both. Or one. You felt the sheets. You heard the voice. You thought the thought. Even if it was forgotten, it was real to you in that moment. So what does memory have to do with existence? If you don't remember an experience, did it happen? To the world, maybe not. But to you, in that instant, it was everything. This is the quiet heart of the paradox. Consciousness doesn't require continuity to be real. You don't need to remember a moment for it to have mattered. You don't need to know your place in time to be alive in it. Now, imagine a universe where every possibility exists. Where every choice splits the world. Where there are infinite versions of you, some who said yes, some who said no, some who never woke up at all. In that vast multiverse, you are here, asking this question. Not because you're the original. Not because you're the most important. But because this version of you is aware now. And that's enough. The Sleeping Beauty paradox doesn't demand a solution. It invites a surrender. A release of the need to be certain, to be right, to know your place in the grand design. You don't have to figure it out. You only have to be present. Even in confusion. Even in doubt. Even in the dark. As you prepare to drift deeper, let go of the need to calculate your odds. You don't need to know if this is Monday or Tuesday. You don't need to know if the coin landed heads or tails. You only need to know that you are here. Breathing. Aware. Alive. And in this moment, fleeting, unrepeatable, forgotten or not, it holds the full weight of a lifetime. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften. The answer doesn't matter. The awareness does. And that is its own kind of truth. The unanswerable. The mind is a curious thing. It reaches for answers like hands in the dark, grasping at shapes it can't quite see. It builds stories to explain the silence, constructs reasons for the unexplainable. It wants closure. It wants certainty. But some questions don't close. They open. They widen. They don't lead to a final destination. They lead to a deeper kind of quiet. Tonight, you've wandered through paradoxes that twist time, fracture identity, dissolve reality. You've stood at the edge of simulated worlds, stared into infinite repetitions, and questioned whether the self is anything more than a passing pattern. You've held contradictions in your hands, knowing them to be true at the same time they cancel each other out. And still, you're here. Not because you solved anything. Not because you found the truth. But because you stayed with the wondering. That's the quiet strength of the human mind, not its ability to conquer mystery, but its capacity to dwell within it. To let a question breathe without rushing to answer it. To sit with uncertainty and not feel broken by it. Take a slow breath. Let your body sink into stillness. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a pond, moving not toward shore, but simply with the water. You don't need to believe in a single, objective reality to feel the warmth of your blanket. You don't need to prove your continuity through time to recognize your own voice. You don't need to know whether you're a biological being or a fleeting pattern of information to feel the weight of love, or the ache of loss. What you experience is real, not because it can be measured, but because it is felt. And feeling, in its purest form, is its own kind of truth. We spend so much of our lives trying to pin things down. We label, we define, we argue. We build philosophies and tear them down. But in the space between waking and sleeping, none of that matters. The labels fall away. The arguments fade. All that's left is the rhythm of your breath, the soft hum of the world, the quiet hum of being. This is not weakness. It is surrender. And sometimes, surrender is the bravest thing we can do. To stop fighting the unknown. To stop demanding that existence makes sense. To stop trying to be the one who knows. Instead, you become the one who notices. Who notices the way light changes in the corner of the room. Who notices the pause between heartbeats. Who notices the thought that arises, lingers, and dissolves, like mist in morning sun. There is no final revelation waiting for you. No grand unveiling. No moment when all the pieces click into place. That's not how it works. The universe doesn't owe you clarity. And perhaps it's better that way. Because if everything were known, if every mystery were solved, there would be no room for wonder. No room for awe. No room for the quiet joy of being alive in a world that refuses to explain itself. So let the questions remain. Let the paradoxes stand, unresolved. Let the contradictions hum in the background. You don't have to carry them. You only have to let them be. And in that letting go, something softens. Not your mind, but your heart. You begin to see that not knowing isn't emptiness. It's space. Space for curiosity. Space for tenderness. Space for the kind of peace that doesn't come from answers, but from presence. You are not a problem to be solved. You are not a riddle to be unraveled. You are a living, breathing, feeling moment in a universe that is vast, strange, and beautiful beyond measure. And that is enough. Not because it makes sense. Not because it lasts forever. But because it is yours. So rest now. Let the thoughts fade. Let the body relax. Let the breath carry you, gently, into the dark. There's no final chapter. No last word. Only this. And this quiet, unanswerable now, is everything.